Manchester United 2, Crystal Palace 1. An extremely important win for the Red Devils against a very tricky Crystal Palace team. What happened behind the scenes at Selhurst Park? Without further ado, let's analyze. Alright, so let's get started. And first, let me start by saying that I have marked this game against Crystal Palace on my calendar for the past few weeks already, simply because I believe that this game provides the perfect opportunity for some in-depth tactical analysis, mainly because both Glasner and Amorim favored this 3-4-3 formation. Their systems and the tactical intent that they favored is kind of similar. So I thought that both of them would probably try something different in order to bypass this 3-4-3 formation that both of them all know so well. But that was not really the case in the first half. In fact, in the first half, both managers and both teams kind of mirrored each other. In fact, in the first half, they looked like the same team, just wearing different kits. But in the second half, that's when things became a little bit more interesting tactically. So let's not get ahead of ourselves and let's start with the first half. So as you can see here, I'm going to show you the similarities in the 3-4-3 system that both Glasner and Amorim favor. So here we have a build-up with 4 players, as well as Manchester United pressing with 4 players as well. The 3 centre-backs here for Crystal Palace. Wharton stays in with Kamada, the other player in the double pivot pushing forward. For us, it's actually Casemiro staying deeper with Bruno Fernandes pushing forward. As you can see, this allows for man marking. It just comes naturally to both teams because of the formations they favored. And then eventually they bait the press and then they go long towards the big man forward. In their case, Mateta. In our case, Zirkzee. But it's clear in the first half that Mateta here, the way he skinned the left, was of course the striker was a little bit in form. He had a very good first half, if we are being honest. But here again, as you can see, Manchester United, same thing again. A build-up with 4 players, with Casemiro staying here, with Bruno pushing more forward. And then of course, Crystal Palace with their 3 forwards and Wharton over here. Same thing, that man marking setup kind of forces Manchester United and Crystal Palace to go again long towards the big man forward. But again, like I said, Zirkzee was not really in form in the second half. Of course, he found his form and his mojo in the second half. The other thing also is that due to Manchester United and Crystal Palace intense, man-to-man kind of press, it also forced both Manchester United and Crystal Palace to be a little bit risky with how they progress the ball from the back. So here, as we can see, for example, with Crystal Palace going longer because, of course, they could not build up properly from the back. But then, of course, this kind of play favors one defender that I have highlighted in one of my previous videos, which is Luke Shaw, absolutely imperial in this game again, just as he was against Brighton, if you remember the video I made of him. So he was always in the lookout for these kind of passes. But again, that's the same thing with Crystal Palace. So basically, the ball was exchanging feet throughout the first half. And it was just a matter of time before one of the teams gets stung. And unfortunately for us, it was, of course, Manchester United with the same concept again. Pressure on the ball carrier, forcing Euro here to go long. Again, with Kamada and Wharton just staying back to man mark Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes in order to prevent any progression through the center of the pitch. And so, of course, the ball goes long. Here as, Zirkzee loses the ball. What really I noticed, and I knew that that was actually a flaw, a tactical flaw in our system here, is just look at how much space is behind Zirkzee. So these players right here, Mount, Mbeumo, and Bruno, they should be much closer because that's the only way you can actually win these second balls in order to actually create something in the opposition's defensive third. But of course, this has led to a chain reaction of bad decisions and bad, positions taken by the Manchester United players, which has eventually led to the penalty. Same sequence again. Wharton here, Euro, because the wide centre backs, especially in this 3-4-3 formation, they are always asked to be a little bit more aggressive and a little bit riskier with the way they press. And of course here now, Euro is caught off guard every time there is a turnover. You always run this risk. Now he has to go wide in order to apply pressure on Mateta, but of course that's going to leave him in a very tricky position because now a mixture of Wharton's technique, vision, and quick thinking, as well as Mateta's experience and off-the-ball movement, means that he can now move into Lenioro's blind side over there. Wharton, great pass by him. He can find him, and that's it. That's checkmate right there. Lenioro has to concede the penalty, and of course that's a penalty, and Crystal Palace are able to take the lead. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't think that Manchester United were going to recover. You've watched the game, guys. I'm sure most of you did. As I was watching the first half, I simply did not know where our goal would come from, okay? So I knew that something had to change in the second half. So I am sure that Ruben Amorim has given the players the air dryer treatment because they looked like a completely different outfit in the second half. So the players were much sharper. Okay, but that's not the only reason. The other thing is that Ruben Amorim was able to identify what actually makes the 3-4-3 formation weak, and it is to play on the wings. Okay, so if you use a lot of lateral moves, you play a lot of diagonal passes, and you create overloads into these wide areas, then actually you can exploit some weaknesses in this system. And that's exactly what the players have done, because both of our goals came from set pieces that were actually won in these dangerous areas. So here again, going long towards Zirkzee, he's not able to control the ball. But here, those players, the Manchester United players, are much closer to each other, as you can see here. Therefore, it enables us to counter press effectively and create overloads. As you can see, plenty of Manchester United players right here, plenty of passing actions, and so we are actually passing lanes. Therefore, we are actually able to keep the ball a little more in those situations. And here, Diogo Dalot is able to get the free kick. And of course, we were able to score from that free kick. And of course, this was the occasion in both goals, actually, where Zirkzee shone. Okay, because in this sequence, I think his move was absolutely amazing. A cultured striker, that's what he is. Just one quick move to put himself in an onside position and then quickly shift and then just move into the forward area. One thing about Bruno Fernandes, we've seen him do this with Anthony Martial. If you remember that game against Manchester City a few years ago, he has that ability to build those telepathic connections with the strikers. And here with Zirkzee as well. Zirkzee here still has a lot to do, but I think the control with his chest, but especially the finish right here, that's definitely the right choice. I mean, eventually Dean Henderson could have done better, but yeah, he plays for Palace now, so I don't care. But also Zirkzee, by going into this area, he's literally like, either it's going to be a goal or there's going to be a rebound that's either going to result in an own goal or in Manchester United player being able to just tap the ball into the net. Anyway, this was a very good play. I think that move from Zirkzee initially, as well as us deciding to play more on the wings, is actually what has given us that goal, and we deserved it. And here is another sequence, because this has become a clear pattern of play for Manchester United. This was right after the equalizing goal. Again, as you can see, as Bruno collects the ball, Casemiro, so all of these 5 players. I've criticized Manchester United's pentagon shape in the press many times in my previous videos. So now finally I can criticize the opposition for doing it as well, because Manchester United, Casemiro is occupying these 5 players. And so Manchester United players, what they did is just to go wide and then create overloads in the wide areas. Mount right here, check in where Dalot is, and then look at that. As the ball is going to move towards Dalot, you see, there is this space right here, an opportunity for a 1-2, and that's exactly what him and Mason Mount are going to do, and that's just great move. It's just intelligent move, and this was enabled because of the overloads created by the Manchester United players in these wide areas, and the Crystal Palace players could not really catch up. That did not really lead too much, but just to show that pattern of play that was in the 59th minute, and this was in the 61st minute. This is the actual sequence that has led to the goal again, targeting those wide areas. And as you can see here, the Crystal Palace shape in the press is aiming to do one thing, and it is to block that central progression. But of course, Manchester United don't care. Just go and move into the wide areas. And then here, as you can see, a long ball towards Zirkzee, who's finally going to be able to perform his target man role effectively. Here you probably can't see it, it's a little bit blurred, but he's taking with him 2 defenders. And here, that space that should have been occupied by these defenders has been freed now, because they are all on Zirkzee. That's like the perfect header towards Diogo Dalot, who has been excellent in this game, and then he can get the free kick. And then of course we were able to score from this free kick. But again, while you might highlight Bruno Fernandes' quick thinking or Mason Mount's execution, I mean, after all, he's the one who scored. I think that Zirkzee's role in us getting the free kick in the first place, as well as this. What is this? I'm not sure how I should interpret this, but look at what Zirkzee is doing here. He's definitely looking at Henderson, and now he's looking back at Bruno Fernandes and Mason Mount, and look at that. He's doing something. That's a hand sign. What is he telling them? He's communicating with them, and then look at that. He's holding the opposition players, and it's from that little space that the ball goes. And here again, look at this signal. What does it mean? What is he doing by that? I'm sure he's not just scratching his face. This is a high-stake moment. It's a high-anxiety moment. He's definitely focused on what's happening. What is he doing with his hands? But anyway, probably doesn't mean much, but I believe that it means something, because it's way more fun that way. Anyway, great 2-1 win for Manchester United, a vital 3 points. Okay, so I still have a couple things to add here, because I think that we need to put this Manchester United performance within its context. And the first thing is, that it was clear that in the second half, the Crystal Palace players were absolutely knackered. I think that Crystal Palace is suffering from, European football syndrome. A lot of teams struggle with that transition from a season where they're just playing domestically to a season where they have to travel, all over Europe on Thursday nights. And so it was really clear that the Manchester United players were able to find a second set of lungs, a second set of legs, which has allowed them to execute things much sharper than the Crystal Palace players. And also on the flip side, I mean, if you remember, before the season started, I said in one of my videos that maybe Manchester United could actually surprise a lot of people this season, mainly because of this reason. Because without European football, that means less injuries. That means that Ruben Amorim can rely more on a fixed starting lineup, therefore leading to more chemistry between the players. It would also allow him to have more training sessions with the players. Therefore, theoretically, it could lead to the players understanding, their assignments on the pitch a little bit better. But it seems to me like Manchester United haven't really taken full advantage of that situation. But also, speaking about context, there is something that I'm struggling with, and this is where I need to hear your opinions in the comment section below, which is, what is it that we are actually expecting from this Manchester United team? Because when you look at where we are on the table right now, we are 7th. We are 4 points away from Manchester City, who are 2nd. I mean, this following a season where we finished 15th, I don't think it's that bad. When you look at the run of results that we've had after that Brentford defeat, I mean, when you look at it, that's 4 wins, 2 draws, including one that came from the jaws of defeat against Spurs, and 1 disappointing defeat against Everton, which could happen to anyone. It was disappointing, it was messy, it was unfortunate, but it could have happened to anyone. I mean, this run of results, that's the kind of form that you expect from a team that could probably finish between 3rd and 7th at the end of the year. So again, the question here is, would you be satisfied with Manchester United finishing between 3rd and 7th at the end of the season? Because the moment we recalibrate our expectations, well then these kind of performances like the one against Crystal Palace is going to be a little bit easier to evaluate from our perspective. But I'll be honest with you, this is something that I myself am struggling with. I've watched Manchester United under Sir Alex Ferguson, so you can't help it. When you watch Manchester United, you expect us to be the best team on the pitch. You expect us to be at the very top of the table. But the truth is that this team is not as good as those previous teams. It's not just the players not wanting to be there. It's not just the manager not being good enough. It's just nothing is as good as it used to be. And so we have to get used to this new Manchester United and recalibrate our expectations. So please let me know in the comment section below, what do you expect from Manchester United this season? What kind of position at the end of the season in the table would satisfy you? What kind of outcomes are you looking for? And what are the goals that you'd like Manchester United to achieve in the near to medium future? Let's say in 2 or 3 seasons, for example. I hope that you've enjoyed this tactical analysis video. If you did, please give it the thumbs up. Until next time, cheers.